Me Before You was one of those movies that left an irreversible mark on us, delivering some of the most unforgettable scenes we can recall. But the most shocking part was undoubtedly the ending, which left a bitter taste in our mouths and many unanswered questions. What happened to Louisa after Will's death? Did she keep her promise and travel through Europe? How did she cope with her grief? Today, I'll tell you what happened after Me Before You, based on the second book in Jojo Moyes' trilogy, After You. 18 months have passed since Will Trainor's passing, and Louisa Clark is still drowning in deep grief. Even though she followed Will's suggestion to travel through Europe, those journeys did little to ease her pain or give her the sense of purpose she so desperately craved. Back in London, Louisa takes a job at an Irish pub inside an airport, an environment that sharply contrasts with the vibrant life she once knew. Every day, she watches travelers head off to unknown destinations while she remains stuck, serving drinks and fast food, trapped in a meaningless routine. She lives in a small, dreary apartment that never truly feels like home. The bare walls and impersonal decor reflect her emotional state, a constant feeling of emptiness and disconnection. Louisa is isolated, with no close friends in the city, and her relationship with her family remains strained as they still struggle with the choices she made regarding Will. Nights are especially hard. She often sits on her balcony, gazing at the city lights, feeling like a spectator to a life that keeps moving forward without her. The promise she made to Will, to live well, weighs heavily on her, and each passing day she feels like she's failing him. Guilt and sorrow consume her, and although she tries to maintain a facade of normalcy, inside, she feels broken. The monotony of her job and the loneliness of her apartment make her question whether she will ever find happiness again, or if she is destined to live in the shadow of her loss. One night, after an exhausting shift, Louisa finds herself in her apartment, overwhelmed by loneliness and grief. Seeking some relief, she decides to go up to the rooftop, a place where she often retreats to watch the lights of London and search for a sense of peace. That night, with a glass of wine in hand, her thoughts turn darker and more melancholic than usual. As she walks along the edge of the rooftop, lost in memories and emotions, an unexpected noise startles her. She loses her balance, and in a terrifying instant, she feels her body plummet into the void. The impact is brutal. Louisa is left lying on the ground, suffering multiple fractures and severe injuries. Darkness consumes her as she slips into unconsciousness. She wakes up days later in the hospital, her body immobilized. The doctors inform her that she has suffered several broken ribs, a fractured leg, and severe bruising. Although she miraculously survived, her recovery will be long and painful. In this condition, unable to take care of herself, Louisa has no choice but to return to her parents' house in Stortfold, the small town she once left behind in search of a new life. Back at her family home, Louisa is welcomed with a mix of love and concern. Her mother, Josie Clark, who has recently been exploring feminism and searching for her own identity, is especially protective. Determined to help her daughter heal not just physically but emotionally as well, Josie insists that Louisa seek professional help to deal with the depression that is clearly consuming her. At first, Lou resists, but her mother's persistence, along with the undeniable need to find a way out of her pain, leads her to consider therapy and psychological support as ways to rebuild her life. After much persuasion, Louisa finally agrees to join a support group called Moving On, a space for people who have experienced loss and are trying to move forward with their lives. She attends her first session with low expectations and a fair amount of skepticism. The group meets in the basement of a local church, a place that feels both somber and welcoming. The chairs are arranged in a circle, and each person carries their own story of loss. Some have lost partners, others their children or friends, while some are simply coping with painful separations. Louisa sits in a corner, quietly observing as the others share their experiences. She feels out of place, as if her pain doesn't quite fit in that setting, and for a moment, she considers getting up and leaving. However, as the meetings go on, she starts listening to the stories around her and realizes something important. Grief manifests differently for everyone, but the feeling of emptiness is universal. Among the group members, Louisa forms a special bond with a few people: a young woman struggling with the loss of her sister, an older man who lost his wife after decades together, and his nephew, Sam. She soon realizes she already knows Sam. He was the paramedic who treated her after her accident. At first, Louisa keeps her distance. She finds Sam attractive, but the idea of opening her heart again fills her with doubt. Is she truly ready to move on? Is it possible to fall in love again without betraying Will's memory? These questions haunt her every time Sam asks her out or gives her one of his kind smiles, the kind that seem to tell her everything will be okay. But Sam never pressures her. His presence is steady, yet unobtrusive, giving Louisa the space she needs to process her emotions. Gradually, their encounters become more frequent: talks after work, spontaneous dinners, and late-night walks where Sam shares his simple yet comforting outlook on life. Despite the warmth she finds in his company, Louisa can't shake the guilt. Every time she allows herself to enjoy being with him, Will's shadow returns, reminding her that loving again might mean leaving behind everything they shared. She clings to the memories, to the pain, as if letting go meant losing her last connection to him. But Sam, with his endless patience, shows her that love isn't about replacing someone. It's about allowing the heart to expand for new experiences. Sam offers Louisa something she never thought she'd find again: the possibility of loving once more, without forgetting, without replacing, just moving forward. The question is she ready to take that step? One rainy afternoon, as Louisa goes through her daily routine, an unexpected knock at the door suddenly changes her life. When she opens it, she finds a soaked, defiant-looking teenage girl standing in front of her. The girl introduces herself as Lily Houghton Miller and, without hesitation, drops a shocking revelation. She is Will's illegitimate daughter. 16-year-old Lily had never met her biological father and had grown up in a complicated family environment. Her mother, Tanya, was cold and distant, which led Lily to a life of rebellion, conflict, and a constant sense of abandonment. After discovering her connection to Will, she became desperate for answers, hoping that Louisa could give her a sense of belonging and understanding. For Louisa, the news was a devastating blow. The thought that Will had a daughter he had never mentioned filled her with countless questions and conflicting emotions. However, her compassionate nature led her to offer Lily a place to stay, at least until they could make sense of the situation. At first, living together was tense. Lily showed all the typical behaviors of a troubled teenager: sneaking out at night without notice, drinking, and maintaining a defiant attitude. Louisa, still grappling with her own grief, felt overwhelmed by the unexpected responsibility of caring for a rebellious young girl. But over time, they began to find in each other a source of support and understanding. Louisa saw in Lily a tangible connection to Will, while Lily found in Louisa a maternal figure she had never truly known. Determined to help Lily connect with her roots, Louisa reaches out to the Traynor family. However, Will's mother, Camilla Traynor, is initially skeptical and distant. Her relationship with Will had been complicated, and the sudden appearance of an unknown granddaughter stirs old wounds. Despite this, Louisa persists, believing that reconnecting with her father's family could give Lily the sense of belonging she so desperately needs. As time passes, Louisa and Lily's bond grows stronger. They share late-night conversations, laughter, and tears, slowly healing the wounds of their pasts. By caring for Lily, Louisa finds a new purpose in life, while Lily, learning more about her father and his family, begins to build a stronger, more hopeful sense of identity. As the story unfolds, Louisa learns to accept her loss and look toward the future without guilt. She comes to understand that Will always be a part of her, but she can't live in his shadow forever. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means allowing new chapters to be written in her life. Helping Lily find her place in the world gives Louisa a sense of fulfillment she never thought she'd find. And with Sam, she has discovered that love can take different forms, that while Will always have a place in her heart, she deserves the chance to be happy again. Finally, after much reflection, Louisa makes the difficult decision to take a job offer in New York. It's a huge step, filled with uncertainty, but it represents the promise of a new life, of adventures and challenges waiting for her beyond her comfort zone. In the final moments of the story, we see Louisa stepping into the future with a mix of fear and excitement. She says goodbye to her family and friends, knowing that she will always carry the memories of her life in London with her. But she also moves forward with the certainty that this is what Will would have wanted. Let me know in the comments what other topics you'd like to see covered on the channel, and remember, if you enjoy this type of video, the best way to support me is by leaving a like, subscribing, and turning on the notification bell. See you in the next video.